Welcome to my studio here. I'm JP, John Polley, your ambassador for the Southern Hemisphere. Let's call it Australia and New Zealand, in fact. Welcome today. I'm going to take you through a little session I call Vibe for the Tribe, mainly based around myofascial mobility and stability, which is my specialisms here. I'm lucky enough to be an educator in that field over the last decade or so. I want you to start off with your plate. I don't know what plate you have. I have the Move here. We're going to start off nice and easy, but what I want you to do, in fact, I'm going to start right now, because start on low and you decide whether you're on 25, 30, 35. I'm going to be on 35 low, and I'm going to start this going. And all we're going to do is start off with some very gentle movements. So things that I want you to think about whilst we're doing these nice gentle hip shifts at the moment. Remember, we're driving with the hip. What we're not doing is wiggling the hip. That's two very different things. So we're starting off with these hip shifts, first of all. Here's what I want you to be thinking as you do this. Number one, if you are happy to be here, hit like. If you enjoy some of the movements, please comment and tell me what it was that you enjoyed about it. If it is missing some movements, please comment and tell me what we're missing so that we can do one for next time. Just remember that the way we make these better for you is by actually having your feedback and understanding what it is that you would really like to get out of this. Or, you know, you say, oh, that was really great. I'd love to see one on strength next time. Please tell us those kind of things. Here's what we're going to get you to do next. Take your feet as wide as they'll go. I want you to drive towards the opposite foot with your hand, but you're not flexing forward at the hips. You're nicely balanced between your feet, and you are rotating your pelvis to reach towards the opposite foot. The pelvis is driving that movement. So, other stuff that I'd love to talk to you about. We are right at the start of things. We are getting things happening for you right now. There will be movements maybe that don't suit you during this. Remember that we are doing a generic myofascial session today. There may not be some specifics in there that quite suit you. There may be others that really suit you and that you love. So every movement isn't for everybody. So remember that, please, and by all means ask for progressions or regressions if you have clients that you feel like would really benefit from something like that. I'm happy to answer questions like that at another time. Take your feet wide, but have them pointing outwards. Here's what I want you to do. Go low, reach, reach, come back. The reach is coming from my hips. So I'm reaching from my left inner hip here, and my hand is an extension of that. My right hand is an extension of my right hip moving. So it's a rotational movement with my feet wide and my toes outwards. As the session goes on, I'm going to start talking about different chains of tissue that I'm looking to target by doing this. You know, you choose how long you stay down there, because remember, at the moment all we're doing is we're preparing the body for some more significant movement as we go. So when I started off, we were doing those lateral movements, the hip drives, very much lateral chain of tissue that we were trying to target through there. When then we were doing the cross-body reaches, it's very much cross-body rotational movement that the functional lines might actually be satisfied by. And here, it's much more the core line, the center line, or the deep line, as we might call them in anatomy trains words. Okay, here's what we're going to do next. In fact, what we're going to do is I'm going to go off at an angle. I'll go to the side of my machine. Here's what we're going to do. I want you to lock out the back knee as you're doing this, and lock out your elbows. So it's just the front knee that's bending, and you're looking to bring the front of the hip towards the ground. It's that simple. Remembering that your elbows and your back knee are locked out. Okay? Elbows that knee locked out throughout. That's a difficult one to remember. So this is very much for the front of the body, superficial front line in anatomy trained language, but really anterior chain. And you'll see the whole time my hips are moving. We're not looking to actually plank, be static through this. Now that whole time that we're doing this, of course, the vibration is assisting in activation and in fluid transportation, which is massive when it comes to doing these kind of things. All right, so I'm just going to pause that. We've now done some work for the front of the body, the back. We haven't done much for the back of the body. We're going to do one more for the back of the body in a second. Lateral and deep. So for the back of the body, let me just restart this. We're going to do a few little good mornings. So I'll show you from the side where you kind of tilt from the hip, as it were. We've got soft knees and a tall spine. Yeah, soft knees, tall spine. So we're going to work in through that. And then in a second, what I want you to do is start thinking about take your left foot forward and go for one, and take your right foot forward and go for one. Just so that we can start playing with how much of your length you have on each of your back lines, posterior chains or superficial back line in anatomy trained language. So what we're interested in here is how low do you go? In other words, do you go as low when your left foot is forward as you do when your right foot is forward? There may be one side where you don't go as far. It gives you an indicator of where you might be holding a little bit more tension or restriction. So once you've got there, I'm going to pause. My toe is it's not wanting me to quite do that. Have a little sip of water. Now the thing with water, I think we're all kind of sold on the idea that water's kind of important. But the thing with movement and water is additionally important. So when it comes to fascial tissues, they're mostly water. The only way we can get fluid, hydration into the tissues of our body is by movement. Movement is the pump that pumps water, that pumps hydration into the tissues of our body. So if we are moving in multiple directions, using our whole body and adding water into the mix, we are able to get those tissues nicely hydrated, so that fluid transportation from a hydration perspective is being done. Of course, the fact that we are on the platform is stimulating blood flow and lymphatic flow too. So we've started off doing a few of those. Now we're going to kind of extend those movements next. Okay, so we're going to start off again. Set your power plate going. Feet are going to go narrow. You're going to drive with the hip, but now your arm's going to come up and over. Arm's going to come up and over. Okay? So we're just going into that a little bit more now, into that kind of lateral chain of tissue, really driving into that lateral line. What you'll find is, one side you may not go as far. Now remember, if you don't go as far, you don't spin out, you don't rotate out of that movement, you don't flex forwards to get yourself further. You recognize that you don't go as far. In my case, on my right side. So what I'm going to do, and what I suggest you do, is go 1 and 2 before you do 1 on your good side in inverted commas. 1 and 2, and then 1 more. 1 and 2. 1 more. 1 and 2. 1 more. Again, 1 and 2, and then 1 more. Now, with the deep line, the core line, remember we engaged that by turning our toes outwards, our knees went outwards, so you felt it come much more up onto this inner hip capsule and into your core. So this time we're going to go deep. I'm going to get to reach there and there, out in front. Then you're going to go across and across. You can go there, out front, and there again, across and across once more. And then again, out front, across and across. At that point, you may want to come up Take 5, back in, go again. 1 and 2, across and across. 1 and 2, across and across. 1 and 2, across and across. 5 count back up here, you might want more, in which case take more please. Make sure that you are fully recovered before you enter back into this zone. Because down here, I call this a sumo reach. Down here in sumo reach land, this can get tough. Now maybe it's not tough enough, in which case what I suggest you do is you, instead of being here, you might want to go here, bring your butt lower. So in other words, what we've done there is create a level change. We've created a different change in the level to what you are holding according to the floor. All right, take a moment. If you need a sip of drink, have a sip of your drink. So now we've just done some more stuff for the lateral side of the body, and we've just increased the expectation, increased the force. If you like that, hit like. If you love that, hit love. You got a question or a comment, make that question or comment. Remember, there will be more of these in the future. And then we did the sumo reach, which is much more for that deep line, to activate and work that whilst also opening up the tissue as well. And I want to talk a little bit about elasticity as opposed to other things in just a second. So next what we want to do is actually go into that front line of the body. So I'm again going to invite you to come back down into that position. But this time what we're going to be doing is when we step forward, we're going to land the foot, lift it, then land it again, okay? So there's going to be a little bit of extra work to be done. So back into your position, set your vibration going. I'll go diagonally so you can see me better from here rather than away from camera. So lock out the back knee, lock out the elbows, come through, land, drop the hip, come back, lift the foot and land it again. Then take it back. So you come forward, drop the hip. Remember, elbows are locked, back knee is locked. Lift the foot, land it, then return. Land, drop, lift, drop, come back. Land, lift, land, come back. So you can see I'm landing, I'm dropping, I'm lifting, and landing and dropping again, and then coming back. This, for those people who are really loving a bit of core work, this is asking a lot more of your core. And because it rhymes, it makes it a little bit cooler, right? Because it rhymes. So you're getting a little bit more for your core. That lift is really tough, hey? Maybe it's not tough for you. You might be a bit tougher than me. But I'm really feeling that. I'm going to do one more. Lift, land, and return. All right, love it. So now we're opening the front of the body as well as working the front of the body. So tissues tend to lengthen under tension in life and sport. So we're mimicking really great movements for life and sport when we're doing these kinds of things, because they are far more according to our design and function. A lot of gym movements we tend to shorten tissue under tension, which isn't necessarily how we then go out into the world and use our bodies from that perspective. Let's do one more. We're just going to go back to that back line again, and then I'm going to do some more whole body stuff. So back to your platform. I'm going to show you side on, set that going. So you know earlier on we were doing these good mornings, yeah? So now you're going to go good morning, reach to the opposite foot. Come back, but you don't come back all the way back up. You come back off and then reach in, then come back halfway. Reach in, come back to halfway. And you'll probably see what I'm actually doing here. I'm actually doing a little bit of a anterior tilt on my pelvis, just to keep me nice and true to staying tall through the movement. Now, if you're already anteriorly tilted, and this is actually causing you a little bit of issue in terms of lumbar discomfort, I actually suggest you relax that a little bit and actually give yourself the ability to flatten out through that lumbar area. If that's what's happening for you, I invite you to do that. I'm not telling you to do that. So you see how we're just reaching through to the opposite side, and we're only coming back halfway. That is probably telling you a little bit about how you're going right now. Whoa, amazing. Okay, well done team. Probably time for another little beverage, a little drink. Remember, water into the tissues, really, really important. Going to challenge you a little bit more next. I'm sticking with body weight for now. We may bring some weight in at the end. Let's just see how we go, shall we? So next I'm going to give you one of my little favorites, which is called Rotating Eddie. Rotating Eddie. So if any of you are aware of the movie Eddie the Eagle, when I was back in the UK, that's where I grew up, and I saw Eddie the Eagle actually in real life, as it were, when he was actually doing that stuff. So this is an homage to his position. So here we are, okay? Your feet are narrow. I've only got them about 3 centimeters apart. Knees are bent. I'm nice and tall through my movement, and my palms are being turned to the front, so my thumbs go outwards. I'm going to squat into that position as low as I can go whilst maintaining a tall spine. Now, I can't go any further without collapsing onto my thighs. So here I am, bang. Hold that position first of all. Then we begin our rotations. So I'm going to move from the hips and rotate as far as I can in this direction with this open stance, as far as I can in that direction. So enjoy this. So by driving from the hips, remember the hips are the things you're driving into rotation. What we're doing effectively is we are driving our feet into pronation and supination. What is that got to do with anything, JP, I hear you ask? Great question is my reply. So pronation and supination is kind of important for stuff like, I don't know, you know, out of the box kind of stuff like walking, like running, those kind of things. If you can be more efficient at pronation and supination, then you are more efficient at walking and running. Kind of things that a lot of humans spend time doing. So here we are. If it gets too much at any point, you're obviously just going to stand up out of that and then carry on into that. I would typically do these for about a minute. I'm talking, so I'm probably doing them for longer. But you don't have to. You can do these anytime, from 30 seconds to 90 seconds. I think you'll go fine. It depends on who you are and who your client is as to how much you might do. But what I love about that is it really asks a lot of the ankles. So whilst it works your lower body and into your core really effectively, it also creates a huge amount of mobility through the foot and ankle complex, which is kind of important for all of us. Hopefully you're enjoying this so far. We're going to take it a little bit different now. We're going to do something which involves a cross body pattern, but again in a prone position. So we do want to bring you back to that straight armed position. Again, I'm hoping you can see me okay, so I'm going to go diagonal, maybe I'll go a little bit more over here. So yes, it's knee to opposite wrist. This is where we're starting. So nothing new about that, I hear you say. That's absolutely not. But what I want to do is, we're just going to bring in a little bit more of a flourish if you feel like you want to. Once you've done the the knee to the opposite wrist, you're going to open up that hip and then come back and then replace that foot. So here we are, knee to opposite wrist, up, open, come back. Inspired by some animal flow movements. So those people who are fond of animal flow, It's a little bit like doing a scorpion reach. So open that hip, come back, and replace the foot. Again, here, to here, to here, and then return. We'll do 2 more. So point the toe of that moving foot. There we go. And step in, take a moment. All right. Another drink, I think. Hopefully you're having fun so far. Little drink. So we're doing all this in real time, so you can literally just do it whenever you want, and you can actually tap into this little workout and then come back to it at another time, and it's all in real time for you. As I said before, it's very important that you tailor it according to your needs or the needs of your clients. That's kind of common sense, I understand, but I do need to remind people because everyone thinks they have to do it for as long as me, or for less time, or for more time. Do it however long you can sustain great technique as you're doing that. You'll notice all movements are very much whole body and they are directed to a specific purpose. But we're concentrating on the movement. I'm not trying to guide you and get you to consciously activate certain areas of tissue. That is not my intention for you with this. We want to get you doing really great, effective whole body movements that train the entire myofascial system. And I hope that you're really enjoying that. Now, if you are up for it, you can add a little bit of load. I'm just going to quickly add a very light load. It's only 2 kilos to this next one. And we're going to do, it's almost like a flow type movement. I'll set it going and then we'll get into it. So you remember earlier on you were doing this movement through here. You're going to take your feet a little bit wider. We're going to start with that movement, but then you go across and reach. You take your weight onto the opposite leg and you reach down and you come up and then across and down. So this way we are getting a load, greater activation through this lateral line and then cross body into what we would call the functional lines. That line of tissue that goes from the outside of my left knee in this case all the way through to the inside of this humerus here, into that bicipital groove as they call it. And that takes some tissue up the outside of the leg into the glutes, thoracolumbar fascia, and into the lats. Other side now, so change sides. So remember, drive into the hip, weight goes overhead, across, weight goes onto this foot, reach and back. Why are we doing elastic movements? That's an awesome question too. Our bodies are a system of elastic bands. Okay, we may not think of them in this way, but that's exactly what they are. So what we want to do is load the elastic, unload the elastic. Once it gets to here, it wants to release. So rather than holding it there, we take it to end range and then we allow it to release. Take it to end range, allow it to release. End range, allow it to release. Here we're at end range and we come up as well. So we've got 2 elastic bands that we're really working well. But to be honest with you, we're working all the elastic bands. They all interact with each other. Now we've done that, what I'd love you to do, and you may need something to kind of hold on to, whether it be a broomstick or something like this, is we've already introduced the glutes, haven't we, in that movement. So now we're just going to do a skater step, not a curtsy lunge, a skater step. So see this? This is keeping my body nice and long and reaching and then coming back up, rebalancing, he says, less stable on my left, you see that? So here we are. So it's like a speed skater. But what I'm not doing is this, because here it creates that's a curtsy lunge, it creates a curve in my lumbar. I want to keep my spine nice and tall. So I'm actually following, my spine is in line with the nice long back leg there as I reach. And it's not easy to do. So like I said, if you need, for example, this is why I keep handy, you might want to keep that out in front and just use that for a bit of an extra balance as you go, and that's absolutely fine. You may, hey, he says, nearly falling over. You may just want to turn around. So as an example here, I've got a wall behind me, so I can just put one finger from each hand and I can actually work this tissue through here. But why do I love a skater step? It's really the most important thing, isn't it? I love them because if ever you wanted to train your glutes using complete whole body movements that is in line with how you might work in life and sport, i.e. the tissue will lengthen under tension, there's nothing better than this. Because we're putting you into a body position where, bang, it has no choice but to switch on and switch on strongly. So that's what we're doing. Switching on and switching on strongly. One more, I reckon. Beautiful. All right. Take a moment, take a drink before we continue. Now we're going to go into a supine position for the next one. And we can keep it fairly traditional, we can go a little bit more progressive. Traditional, I mean more traditional, what you'd understand in terms of gym work. Progressive, more in terms of what we might understand as something that would be more whole body, multi-directional. Some people might even call it functional movement, but that's kind of a term that we tend to distance ourselves from, because really we're looking at whole body integration, lengthening tissue under tension, elastic movements. You might call it a loaded movement if you're adding load to it to create a different force profile. But what we're really doing is, for most of these, is we're just changing body position to create a different force profile through the body. The vibration will naturally lend itself to the force where where the force is traveling. So in other words, there we are, we're doing a certain movement. You feel it more in the skater step, for example, in the butt, into the legs, and then up through into your trunk. Well, there, the vibration is directing itself that way because that's where the force profile is as a result of the mechanical position you're putting your body into. So for this next one, let me just demo before I get it going. So here you are, you can have your hands pointing outwards or pointing backwards. So here we are, I'll show you from the front. It's what animal floaters actually might call this as a crab position. So it's this position through here, and I'll show you what you're actually going to do. So you're going to be here, and you're actually going to take your leg, drive it under your body, then come back, drive the leg under your body, and come back. It's as simple as that. And then I'll show you what else you can do to play with this. So you're looking at being open in your shoulders, nice and tall through the spine. Enough space that you can actually, your butt can move backwards and forwards here. So suspend yourself, take that foot under your body, allow your hips, your pelvis is allowed to move, and then as far as that wants to go, bang, all the way back and upside. And you'll probably notice that there's a difference from one side to the next. But each time you come back, return, let your butt drop and maintain that nice tall spine position. Reach and then come back. Now you might only get to here. That's fine. If you're only getting to here, that is fine. It's where you are today, okay? It's where your clients might be today. But this is great for opening up the outside of the body, whilst at the same time creating that upper body strength. Now what you can do, if I show you side on, as you're doing that, and let's say here we were, you can come back through here and bang in a little tricep dip, if that is your wont, and then you could carry on. Now I don't have enough space to do the other side, so I'm going to stay here. So we'll reach and back, and reach and back. If you wanted to get a little bit jiggy with it, what you could do is have someone with a balloon out front. You can kick a balloon, then you can come here, come back, kick another balloon, here, come back, kick, here, come back. It's kind of like Cossack kicks, which is another thing that you could do as you're going. All right, lovely. Take a moment because that is pretty demanding. Hopefully you're enjoying all of these. Take a little walk, shake out what's happening through your hands and wrists there, because it's not actually that easy. Remember, we're nearly at the end of our half an hour right now. Didn't that go quickly? So we're looking to create elastic movements, whole body, multi-directional, pump fluids around the body, whilst at the same time activating as many tissues in the body as we possibly can. That way at the end, we can do lovely movements where it's just like, wow, I feel so free, but also so stable and strong and safe in that position. Nervous system safety is kind of important for most of our clients. Ordinarily at the end of this, I would have people lay on the plate, either do the front of the hips and the lower abdomen, making sure their ribs are clear, and have them through here and get them to do a couple of minutes here. That if they're conditioned to vibration, I'll get them doing that on a high setting. Not so much, then I'll keep it on low. That's a very, very popular one. If you've got head support here, we might do a couple of minutes here with the whole of their spine on, and actually have some head support just here. And of course, the classic, the very, very, very popular is the calf flush, whether they be sitting up or laying down. If you've got some sandbags, put some weight on there to really enhance that connection from there. That's all from me today. As I've said, if you like this, please hit like. If you love it, please hit love. If you have comments, queries, questions or suggestions for the future, please make them. And if you know people that would benefit from this kind of workout or from this kind of information or these kind of movements, please share the video with them. It is yours to do with as you please. The whole point of me doing these is for you, not me. So please go forward, use it, draw on this information, draw on these movements and enjoy them, most importantly. And I'll see you again soon. You will see me every Wednesday doing my little mini tutorials, about 5 minutes long. And we'll do some more of these in the future as well. Please make suggestions as to what you might like to see. In the meantime, thank you from PowerPlate. Thank you from me, JP. I'll see you again very, very soon. Bye-bye.